to the Mel K show. I got my friend Brian here again, and last time I was so excited to have him, I forgot to introduce him. So why don't you tell my guest who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, Mel. Well, I'm great to be back. I'm a counsellor in the UK. I've been a counsellor for 44 years now, a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm very experienced in politics and great interest in what's going on. And what's going on now is just unbelievable.
Unbelievable, right? I mean, you have to not know history. This is what they did to the kids for the last 20 years that has allowed it to get this far. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Capitol today, but these are armed troops everywhere. Yeah. Imagine, I never thought in my life I would ever see this in DC, you know? I mean...
Now they say they're there for the inauguration, but you have a different view, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Well, the truth is that, as we've discussed before, there's plenty of evidence, not just in the cheating and the election and all of that, but also in what is going on in DC. You know, everything that they're saying in their nice, usual upside down inverted way that they're accusing Trump of and Trump supporters of is truly the opposite. And I am told by people that do know what they're talking about, that they have plenty of evidence after seizing the laptops that this was an inside job, that Nancy Pelosi and others knew about what was going to happen. It was, in fact, organized by Antifa and Black Lives Matter weeks prior. So they have evidence now that everything that they're doing right now to Trump and Trump supporters is impossible, because you can't incite a riot that was planned.
No.
And, you know, and so they are total blackout of media here. I mean, people don't know the truth, but the truth is that they do have evidence that this was a setup. And the craziest part is Trump was still speaking when it happened.
Yeah.
And that was on purpose. The insiders tell me that Trump and them, they knew what was going to happen. They planned the counterinsurgents, which was only about 4 or 5 white hat special ops running in between and going and getting those laptops, which in fact belong to the government. People are saying, oh, they stole them. No, the government gave them to them. They own them. But the Trump rally, which was positive and peaceful, was still going. Trump was still speaking. Yeah. So he delayed his speech on purpose so that his people wouldn't be over there. And they're telling us that there's a lot of arrests. What they're not telling the public is that those arrests are tying back to Antifa.
Yeah.
And they do have evidence that not only did Nancy Pelosi knew that was going to happen, but so did Mitch McConnell. So basically everything that they're doing right now to Trump is treason, you know? Yeah. So it's just treason upon treason.
What people are getting concerned about now, we're only 6 days away from the alleged inauguration,
right?
That they want to see something happening on the ground. And there is great concern about this at the moment. If you look at people like Simon Parks and others on YouTube and BitChute, right, he's getting enormous viewership. His last video had about 600,000 views.
Right.
And all he does, he just gives people daily updates about how he sees what's happening and how things will pan out between now and the 20th. And people are really reaching out, I think, for reassurance that something will be done to stop Biden.
Right.
And that's what we need to do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Biden is a traitor. He is a CCP puppet. He is also in cahoots with Iran. And if you've noticed, what's going on here is in the last week, we've had several, especially younger Congress people, come out and make this. It's very similar, you know, because you know history. It's very similar to what happened in Germany in the 30s and early 40s. And they've been coming out and saying that whiteness was chosen over democracy. And then you have Joe Biden saying he's not going to give any stimulus the next time to white male-owned businesses. And then you have these squad members, these anti-American Soros puppets put in there that are going on the floor of Congress and saying that Trump is a terrorist, that our country is white supremacy, that, you know, everything from A to Z. And you know what? And there's still an amount of white liberal Democrats that are cheering this on. They're cheering on their own demise. Now we have,
yeah.
and now we have corporate America and big tech coming out, and banks and corporations and businesses saying that they're not saying white conservatives. They're
No.
basically saying that they want our country to be a racist country now against whites.
Yeah.
And people are getting alarmed on both sides.
Yeah,
But I'm told,
but what people are looking for is some sort of information about what's going to happen between now and next Tuesday.
Right.
So, in terms of the Insurrection Act,
Right.
do you think that's been
Absolutely
enabled?
Yes, I do. I do
Right.
think that. And I've spoken to some of the same people. Simon actually has a crazy background. He actually knows a lot. He is inside people in MI5 and MI6. And as you know, and maybe people in America don't know as much, that the CIA has been against we the people of the world in terms of freedom and doing black ops, pretending to be, the good guys. Well, obviously they're embedded over there more in MI6, I hear, than MI5, but it's the same. But there's also both sides, good and evil on both sides.
Yeah.
So what I'm told is going to happen is that those National Guards have been federalized. They work for Donald Trump. And what I'm told is going to happen is that there are going to be massive arrests. There's plenty of intel out there that some of the biggest people have been arrested already. This will be done publicly. But what I'm told is that they are going to be handing over, Trump is not going to be handing over the country to Joe Biden. He's going to be handing over the country to the military. And in that sense, really, the thing that I learned is yesterday, the acting DHS secretary stepped down, Chad Wolf, and he's replaced by the head of FEMA. Now, in America, most people probably don't know this, but FEMA actually doesn't have to abide by the Constitution. Their whole point is that it's an emergency management system. And the guy that's been running it is now in the place of DHS. So what is expected is that FEMA will suspend rules. FEMA will take over as the interim government. I believe General Flynn will also be involved in that. Right. And Trump and his team will be waiting on the sidelines. And the word is that FEMA is going to, with the Marines and the National Guard, do massive arrests, because the level of treason really skipped to the next level this past week. First, the treason was the cheating, but we know the treason started with 9/11. The treason started in Iraq. Yeah. And if you look at who's coming out, like Colin Powell, he's a war criminal. The Bushes, war criminals. The whole Iraq war was a con. And then 9/11, we still haven't heard anything about the Benghazi, which was a total setup. No. John McCain was involved in that. John McCain and Obama created ISIS, everything that happened in Syria. Now, the good news is that I hear that there's people high ups in the Ukraine, Russia, Australia, India, Mexico, Brazil, that are truly behind the scenes, still 100% working with Trump and Pompeo. Right. And allowing what's happening right now, and it's sad because the American people aren't getting the real news. What's happening right now is they're allowing them to hang themselves as if they haven't already. But the crimes that they are committing this week by blaming this riot on Trump and Trump supporters, allowing them to then ban us from the internet, take our bank accounts away, never going to hire Trumpers, only going to give money to non-whites, like all this stuff that they're doing is just adding to the level. So this will be, go ahead.
But what is that actually going to stop Biden being inaugurated on the 20th? How is that?
I believe the military, I believe Joe Biden might have already been arrested. Right. Now, you can't confirm it, but there's a lot of information out there that, they have the evidence. And honestly, that the Ukraine is behind the scenes waiting to try Joe Biden. Right. And that they've been working a lot with them. Another thing that happened is this impeachment. I heard from some intel guys that I like that the Iranian government has put an $80 million bounty on Trump's head. Okay. And part of the them impeaching him would be taking away his Secret Service protection and all protections. So basically, they're trying to allow Donald Trump to be assassinated without protection.
Well, that's disgraceful.
And that's what this is about. And it's truly about Nancy Pelosi and the squad and all of them, their hatred for Donald Trump.
But the impeachment is a joke, isn't it? It's not going to happen, is it? I know it's been passed. It's been passed in the House of Representatives, but it's got to be passed in the Senate as well, and that won't happen until after the 20th. And then they need a 2/3 majority. They're not going to get a 2/3 majority, surely, are they?
I believe that half of them are going to be imprisoned by then. I mean, they're taking it way further than they should. They already committed treason the day that they voted in a fraudulent election that they know is fraud. Also, in the last few days, I hear that the woman that was caught on camera in Atlanta was arrested for voter fraud. The Michigan Secretary of State, they're demanding all of her records from Dominion, Google, Facebook, and Twitter. The woman in San Antonio that Project Veritas caught was arrested. And listen, these people, they're not going down themselves. They were paid. And it's all going to lead back to Mark Zuckerberg, I believe, the Open Society, George Soros, and other oligarch billionaires. And on top of that, it seems like the whole COVID thing is going away, as Trump predicted. We have Cuomo doing a complete turn, saying he wants to open New York.
Why do you think Cuomo came out and he said that we can't wait to get everybody vaccinated before we stop the lockdown, that we end the lockdown, because if we do that, there'll be nothing to unlock. And New York's getting like that now, as you well know, isn't it? So that's a complete U-turn, a complete about turn by Cuomo. Now, what do you see as being behind that?
Well, what I heard, and like I say, everyone should do their own research. I have a good group of people that I check with, and we've been pretty right all along. And what I'm hearing is that Cuomo and some other governors that are in these states that are run by the left, that they are caught up in the Chinese, selling Chinese technology behind the scenes. And this makes sense to me that Cuomo is caught, because a long time ago, I did a show about Cuomo teaming up with Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt to make New York City the first smart city. Well, it turns out that many of the governors in the places that not only were stolen, but that were locked down and destroyed also made deals like that, similar deals. But those deals really go back to the CCP, because apparently Bill Gates and Eric Schmidt from Google and a bunch of the other people that are involved, usual suspects, that they already believe that the one world order, the whole UN apparatus, should move to the communist China. So it looks like a lot of this, all of it is going to go back to the CCP and the central bankers.
But what is, I accept all that and I agree with all that, but what is the link with that, with Cuomo eventually now saying that he's going to do a complete about turn and he's going to end the lockdown?
I believe he's caught. I believe that he is caught. He has been notified that he is caught, and he is he got a choice. Don't be surprised if this happens in California and everywhere else, Michigan and all these states.
But why would the CCP want to end the lockdowns? Because the lockdowns is in their favor, because it shuts down the American economy.
No, the CCP doesn't want to. The CCP, they're winning by having us in lockdowns. He went on TV, and said that he won the election in America, not Joe Biden. So no, what I think is that the military has military justice. That's military intelligence, JAG, those kind of people, that they've already informed these governors and stuff that they know. I also got a report that sent to me that they are going to release the evidence that COVID-19 is a bioweapon that was created on purpose, not by, and it was never by accident. And that, as we talked about before, that actually it was financed by Obama, Fauci, Gates, Soros, and the CCP, and that it was released to take down all of our economies worldwide, and to usher in the Great Reset. But apparently they now have evidence of this, and that this COVID is actually a bad strain of the flu, and that the what I was told is that the vaccine that is being given out, I can't confirm this, but I do know it from a good source, that the vaccine that is being given out is actually the flu vaccine.
Right.
So we shall find out, because the vaccine by Moderna and Pfizer has those nanoparticles in it that would essentially give up our bodily sovereignty once taken.
But just talking about Cuomo again, he got into a great deal of trouble, quite rightly, because he sent out all these elderly from the hospitals untested into the care homes, and thousands died. The same happened across the world. It happened in the UK. And I'm very sorry to learn today that the UK government under Boris Johnson is talking about doing exactly the same thing again. Do they never learn at all? They're talking in the UK. They're now talking about sending untested elderly from the hospitals into the care homes. Now, this killed thousands in the UK before, back in April, May last year. Now they're talking about doing it again. It's almost, as we spoke before, it's almost as if they want people to die.
I agree, and I think they do. I think it's a genocide, but it's by doing this, they are they're keeping us in fear, keeping us scared. They're sending people that are I believe that that's true. Cuomo is now. They have sent several orders. He refuses to turn over the data from the nursing homes. And, it's also not a coincidence that it's the 5 governors that basically have been financed by the left and Soros and these NGOs and backed by, CFR, Hollywood, and everything where this happened. It's hard to say the difference between good and evil, but the truth is, it appears that this is part of the plan. And don't forget, in communist China, they're now cheering on that their whole eugenics and their whole reproductive process is working, because the Uyghurs are no longer baby making machines, and saying things like that. And the guy that Biden wanted to bring in for his task force, Zeke Emanuel, brother of Rahm Emanuel and Hollywood giant agent, the other Ari Emanuel, that he is on record saying that people over 75 are selfish to want to stay alive. So, and then, Bill Gates is a eugenicist, depopulation.
And also take into account the fact that there are cures out there for COVID. And not only are they refusing to use them in countries like the United States and UK and other countries, they're being banned. So why would you ban something that would cure 100% cure of COVID? Again, you can only conclude that they want people to die.
Right. That it's the depopulation agenda. They want to depopulate because for their Great Reset to work, there's just too many people on the planet right now. It's very diabolical. And it sounds like a movie, but it's not a movie. This is what's going on. For them to make their Great Reset work, which it will never work. It's never happening. But for them to make their Great Reset work, they need to cull the population all over. And the other thing you're saying, hydrochloroquine has no negative side effects. All these doctors have been shut out. Plus, this vaccine skipped the trial phase on animals. So we're the animals, like we talked about last week. So, I mean, the doctors' voices that were silenced, now that they're numbering in like the hundreds of thousands of doctors and scientists and coming out and just saying something's wrong here. And we know that, if an elderly person is sick and they get pneumonia, say, that their odds of death are so much higher. So to me, I think, again, we're back at it's a battle between good and evil, because I believe that the people at the top running this could not care less about elderly dying or anyone dying. They don't think that way. To them, I truly believe, and having known some of these people at that level, they really do look at it that there's too many people on the planet and it's not good for them.
The difficulty is to get that message across, because most people will say, well, surely not, politicians don't want people to die. Well, why would politicians want their own constituents, their own people to die? Surely not. But when you examine the facts, you can only come to that conclusion, can't you?
Right. And at the same time, we're dealing with other forces. On top of this, my country apparently hasn't been educating the people that are now in their, teens, 20s that are doing the rioting, that communism is hell on earth. These people that are cheering on Biden. I guess they're not paying attention that everyone that he's putting back in to the government are the worst of the worst in my mind, in terms of being the war machine. He's bringing back Samantha Powers to U.S. aid. U.S. aid is a money laundering slush fund for the elite. And what they do is they go into these countries, usually with the central bank. They pretend to help. They give to those corrupt politicians. They own those corrupt politicians, which is going on with all these politicians. And then after that, they make the people into debt slaves, and they steal all their resources, and they move on. And, that's what we're seeing. He's putting also 14 of the people that Biden is saying he's bringing in work for big tech. They're big tech executives. Then we have the guy that he's bringing in to head the CIA is the guy who put together the phony Iran deal, which really was a money laundering scheme to start black ops for nuclear weapons to be used against us.
And then on top of that, these lockdowns have had the worst impact on the poorest countries. And in those poorest countries, literally millions of people, kids, will die of starvation, for example.
Right. And what they're doing also, think about that, with the starvation and the famines. These guys, Biden included, but a lot of the people in our government right now sold a lot of our land, our farmland, to China. Well, China's not going to be building farms. They're going to be creating famine. And and right now, China is thriving. The only country in the world that's doing okay and thriving is China. And, I hear, especially from Charlie, because he has a lot of contacts, Charlie Ward, because he has a lot of contacts there, is that there's two factions in China, that there's a good faction that's working behind the scenes. And then there's these CCP criminals that are, all connected to our criminals in our government and your government and all of them. And that underneath them, and actually that have more power now, are the white hats in all the countries that form this alliance. And if you notice, there's certain people, when the ban of Trump happened with Twitter, I noticed that it was Putin, Merkel, Macron, the president of Mexico, that first came out and said, this can't happen. These people don't know history. This is bad. And so that's letting you know, I believe that we have actors also in place, people pretending to be on one side, but they know they're not going to let the rest of the world isn't going to let America become a communist, CCP run country. And the truth is that I believe this week with this putting in of this guy from FEMA, when I read about him and how FEMA operates, Trump declared an emergency. Muriel Bowser wanted him to. Now we're in emergency, which we've been the whole time. But then putting the FEMA guy in skips all the practicalities of, arrest, booking, No, they are immediately, if FEMA arrests them, they are immediately taken to military tribunals, apparently. So,
but this banning of the parties of the right by the social media groups, that must be stopped. That's got to be stopped, because it's not right that anybody or any company can actually censor what you and I can say online through social media. That can't be right. And that's happening not just in America, not just in the UK, but across the world.
I know.
That they've got far too much power, and that needs to be ended. But again, we need Trump in there to help us do it.
Well, don't forget, he was pushing for it. And all you have to do, like we just deciphered, like the only logical answer of them putting elderly people with possible COVID in homes to infect other people is diabolical. Well, the same thing here. The only answer is that they were rejecting they were doing these sham hearings with Facebook and Twitter and Google, where they're just saying, and then the Democrats are cheering them on. They want more censorship, and all of that. The Republicans are saying, it's wrong. And Trump's pushing for the Section 230. And then last minute, they veto that. This could have been handled. But I believe Trump and the White Hats, they know everything, that they've been ahead of them. I think that we are at a place where, like, you're right, people in America need to see something happen. People are feeling like that don't follow us and don't seek out other media are just feeling completely defeated and devastated. And Trump went. I do believe that the Insurrection Act was called already. I also believe that they have triggered the, and this is just my belief, that they have triggered the executive order for foreign interference, because the blackouts that are going on all over the world that aren't being reported in America really happen to be blackouts where these servers and Dominion and Citadel and SolarWinds and all this stuff have their hubs. So the blackouts are related to the election fraud. And there's rumors about a lot of stuff happening in Italy, in Germany, in all these countries, Pakistan, and but all you have to do is connect the dots to know that those are the countries that are involved in the foreign election interference. But it's not, it's not just election interference. This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about the one world order basically winning. And at this point, the Swiss Octagon and the CCP are in it together, because the Swiss banks are getting killed financially because of the ending of the central banking system. They needed the CCP's money, but they like the way that the CCP runs communist China. They like the concentration camp, AI city type things. People aren't realizing that a smart city is a surveillance state. And there's people that are stupid enough in our countries and all over the world to think that, a universal income and, full-time surveillance is okay. You're in prison. That's what it is. And now our corporations are starting to threaten the social credit score.
Yeah.
That's why.
Why do you think that Trump has not brought in a special prosecutor to look at this stolen election? There was talk of that, and there was talk that Sidney Powell had actually been appointed by Trump, and the White House refused to accept it.
Right. I think that's all smoke and mirrors. I think 100%. I mean, I know at least that General Flynn, General McInerney, and those guys, they're working on it. They have to. But what's going to happen is they're not going to transfer power to Joe Biden or any of these warmongering, horrible people that were there under Obama. Obama committed crimes that are off the charts. They are treason. They are crimes against humanity. We haven't even gotten into the child trafficking aspect of it, which is horrendous, and will come out. But I expect that this appointment of the guy from FEMA is the end game. And you see Nancy Pelosi taking pictures of our National Guard sleeping on the ground. They can't even give them a tent and some cots. What is she doing?
I know.
But at this point, it kind of feels like by the time this is all sorted out and there is a Trump inauguration, which I hear dates for it, but it's not going to be, obviously the 20th will be the wrap up of, I believe, arrests by the FEMA guy and the military. But by the time that happens, America hopefully will be awake enough to be grateful. It's like the people in your country are more upset than our liberal America.
Yeah. But what's happening now, what they're trying to do to Trump and his family and his supporters is vicious, isn't it? It's absolutely vicious.
Right.
They're trying to destroy him and his family and his supporters, aren't they? In every way possible. Not just the exclusion from social media, but exclusion from banking, insurance, and all the rest of it.
Right.
It is pretty serious stuff what they're trying, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's all criminal. It's all so criminal. Here's the other thing: De Blasio, who is the worst mayor of all time anywhere known to humans. I mean, this guy's the worst.
Yeah.
And he is canceling all of Donald Trump and the Trump organization's contracts. Do you know how many things Trump built in the city, put back together? I'm talking about parks, the ice rink on his own dime. You know, all of his buildings employ hundreds of thousands of people are employed in New York City through the Trump organization. What are they doing? This is, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Tsar in Russia. When they went after his family and all of that, it's the exact same thing, basically.
Yeah. But they're trying to demonize Trump and everything that he has done. And they're trying to put on him what the Democrats have done. They're trying to say he's inciting violence. He's never incited violence, and he wouldn't incite violence. But the Democrats have done it regularly, haven't they?
Right. Well, it's our media really that does it the worst. They're complete and total liars. They're so corrupt that you meet people that still listen to CNN or MSNBC or read the New York Times or New York Post, mind you, all owned by these top level Davos oligarchs that want this depopulation, in my opinion. They don't get it. They don't even listen to what he said. He didn't say that. And the craziest part is that we are going to find out that this whole thing that happened at the Capitol was pre-planned. You can't incite a riot that was pre-planned, A, and B, he was still speaking for 20 more minutes. So everything that they're just, again, they're overplaying their hand. Just like,
but during the summer, when all the looting and the rioting and the fires and the shooting was going on, the Democrats were encouraging that. They were actually willing people to get out there, and they were actually going, and in some cases paying the bail for people who've broken the law. And then you had Chris Cuomo from CNN saying, "Who says that protests need to be peaceful?" Didn't he? He actually said that.
Yes.
And you know, now if Trump had said that, the world would have erupted. But Chris Cuomo just got away with it.
Right. Well, also the person who organized the bail for the protesters was Kamala Harris. So, and then the other thing I've been saying is all during when we were on the lockdowns in New York and they were rioting and everything, you know, they weren't arresting the rioters. They were having them, they were hauling them in, letting them go. And then also they've been releasing huge amounts of criminals. They're not releasing elderly from prison. They're not releasing nonviolent criminals. They're releasing criminals. Well, I have a feeling that if we trace back when the water clears and the smoke clears and everything clears, the swamp clears, we're going to trace back a lot of these Antifa and Black Lives Matter to people that were released from prison that were indoctrinated in there. What I hear is that they were going in and they were choosing by, you know, we'll let you out on bail, on bond, on whatever. But, you know, then they became indoctrinated by the local group. And from then on, that's their army is right now criminals and rioters that should be in prison.
Yeah, but the Democrats are just hypocrites on steroids, aren't they? They really are. It's unbelievable. They actually they call on people to do things which they accuse Trump of, which Trump has never done.
Well, like we talked about, I mean, I know a lot of people call it a conspiracy theory that there's a bloodline hierarchy of good versus evil. And the sad part is that it's not a conspiracy theory. It's absolutely true. And these people believe that they're satanic bloodline. I mean, they worship Lucifer. They hate God. They hate religion, and they hate people who love God and religion. And that's been a big part of this, because all of this demonizing, this white privilege and like Presley and that AOC and the other people on the floor calling our country white Christian supremacists. They're now actually calling them, saying that Christians are dangerous out loud and proud, you know. And the other thing is there's like Clyburn, whose laptop got stolen, so he's nervous. He came out yesterday and said that we should make some black anthem, the new national anthem of America, because they deserve it. Oh, and first on the roll is reparations. This is 100% a color revolution, and it's evil. It's evil because the people that they're pretending to fight for are the ones they care about the least.
Yeah, but what's really let Trump down is that all the various bodies who should have taken action on the stolen election have just not taken any action whatsoever. The politicians, the courts, done nothing. Will the Supreme Court do anything at all?
I believe they will, but they're waiting till after the arrest. Listen, I do firmly believe, and I want our viewers and everyone to know that they are not getting away with this, because everyone is watching it escalate. That now that they think that they're in power, well, why are they if they are in power, why are they going after Trump and Trump supporters? They're saying that 75 million people in this country are domestic terrorists, when last summer they cheered on Black Lives Matter.
Makes no sense.
It's sickening. And also, you know, there's some evidence coming out that the entire thing, including the George Floyd what happened with George Floyd was orchestrated, that this was
Right.
all a plan, and that there is evidence. Those
Yeah.
laptops were a big get, because I believe that they can prove that Nancy Pelosi and others had foreknowledge that there was going to be an attack that day, and that they were just acting. And
Yeah.
and then they have on the guy that's been at all the riots yelling "Insurrection USA" guy, this John Sullivan. They have him on CNN and MSNBC last night as a hero. This guy was caught burning down Portland, and they're just totally gaslighting the whole world, but it's pure evil. We're at a point where we're dealing with demons, and if it's not, a lot of the people in Congress and Senate, they're puppets. They did what they had to do, but they exposed themselves. I wasn't surprised about Liz Cheney, because if people knew how evil her father is,
Yeah.
on a very, very demonic level,
Yeah.
I don't know how she's there.
No.
Again, I never understood how she was there. Her father is one of the biggest war criminals ever, for profit. And, now we have, I'm hearing that the impeachment thing is about stripping Donald Trump of
Yeah.
his protection, so that they can allow somebody to take him out.
Yeah.
And
But those 10 who voted for impeachment, they need to be primary, don't they?
oh
They
yeah,
need to be
not
booted out.
primary. They probably voted for that because they're blackmailed, or they have these people. They're all, look. Pompeo warned them a long time ago that if they were doing business with the CCP, he knew about it, and they
Yeah.
better straighten it out. They all had a chance to do the right thing. They all did, and they all chose not to. Well, the question is, like Lynn Wood's saying, why would they choose not to do the right thing if it meant their life? Something has to be hanging over their head, that
Yeah.
they had no choice when it came to their own lives. That's why I've been saying to people, this has nothing to do with we the people. This has to do with these people are caught, and they know it. And the rush to get rid. Why aren't they? You would think if they won legitimately right now, they'd be putting together their coronavirus plans, the next stimulus.
Yeah.
If the American people don't see what's going on, that this is a campaign of basically terror, our government against 75, 80 million people, probably more like 100 million. And people think that it's going to get better. No, we're going, the only way, the only way is the military. We're past it. The one good thing that we can agree on is that Trump tried everything legally. He has done everything by the Constitution. He is protected, and everything that they're doing, like you said, but part of the Luciferian satanic cult mentality is say that the other guy is doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or
I've heard you talk in the past about the changing legal status of the USA and UK.
Right.
How does that impact on what's going on now?
Well, what I'm told, and what I've come to, is that the corporation of the United States of America is 10 square miles in District of Columbia. It is a rogue country. It is a rogue organization, just like the City of London and the Vatican. And they don't run by our laws. They don't run by our rules. And every single person in the government that works in DC knows that. So the corporation was bankrupted in April. So once it was bankrupted, then they, for the first time ever, got to open up their books. So a big part of this, the corporation going bankrupt, is that they can connect the money now.
Right.
Almost all the judges and certainly the mayor, everyone in DC that works for the municipality that is DC, like the people that work for the Vatican, are they're guilty of crimes on different levels. But our Congress and our Senate knows, and has known all this time, about the fraud and grift that is the Fed. The central bank basically owns the District of Columbia, and the central bank basically run out of Switzerland, but also out of the Rothschild banking cabal out of the UK.
Yeah, and as a similar thing happened in the UK then?
Yes. According to Charlie and Simon and the people that I get intel from in that realm, yes, it has, and the Vatican. Also, the Vatican got caught trying to transfer its money to Australia in the dead of night. Well, that's really the Rothschild banking money that they were hiding at the Vatican. The Vatican is basically bankrupt. It appears that every central bank in the world right now is basically bankrupt. So we are, but as I've been told, the quantum financial system has been running parallel to the one that we know about. But basically, it seems that the City of London, Vatican, and DC are bankrupt.
Right.
And and that means that we go back to we the people being in charge in all our countries. I mean, our governments around the world, they betrayed us to such an extent through war, through slush funds and money and taxes that should never have been paid, and certainly weren't going where we thought. And I believe that it's all been exposed. I know that Steve Mnuchin flew during the riots to Israel, which that was supposed to be a trip taken by Mike Pence. And Pompeo hasn't stopped traveling. And the DNI Radcliffe did turn in his foreign interference report, but none of this stuff is being reported on the mainstream media. So so everyone right now feels like, all is lost. But I think most people are looking at this and being like, this can't be real. It can't be real.
No. The last time we spoke, you mentioned about the New World Order trying to get their capital in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
And I've
done a bit of send you some stuff. Then I went to DC, but I will.
No, but I've done a bit of research on it, and they seem to be building a brand new capital there at a great cost, billions and billions of cost. What's going on?
What I believe and what I've done the research on is that is where they're planning to move the UN. That they are planning to run the One World Order / the UN out of Kazakhstan, and that this has been a long-term plan. They also have plans for the One World Church, the faux pope that we have right now, that we may not have right now. He's been up there quite a bit. All the people that we talk about, from Kerry, Gates, Schmidt, all these people have visited Kazakhstan multiple times. There's been billions and billions of dollars put into that small place.
Yeah. So why have they chosen there? Why there in particular?
Well, I think it's very it has a lot of resources, and B, it's kind of on its own. And most of all, what I hear is that it was the perfect place along the CCP Belt and Road and Belt Initiative. That it's the perfect center spot to that.
Right.
So that's why it was picked. But also the people, the oligarchs and the billionaires that are formerly, a lot of them from Russia and Swiss and stuff, they've been going there for a long time because they built one of those satanic temples there. Their main temple is a giant satanic temple, just like what they have in the UN, that Lucis Trust. It's the same thing. And that's where they worship Satan. Apparently. That's why it was chosen. And it can, apparently they have so much natural resources, and they've built so much up there that if all else failed and they had to block it off, they could. So that's the story of that. But I'm glad you looked it up. I've been meaning to get back to that, but then the riots happened.
And what's the time scale on that? It all depends on how this COVID thing works out, I suppose.
Well, the time thing is, if God forbid Joe Biden ever got in, all of their plans will kick in. But it can't happen. The whole world's not going to let this happen. The Great Reset is part of it, but it's now that there's the crazy people at the World Economic Forum, IMF, BIS. They're now talking about not just credit scores and all this, but they're talking about being our only source of food worldwide. They're talking about their own police force. Joe Biden and his people yesterday talked about having a civilian police force. Well, they already have it. It's called Antifa and Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? But they want, and these UN peacekeepers, they've not done no peacekeeping. Usually they're all like in trouble for different sexual crimes. And it appears the UN is the biggest child and human trafficking organization on this planet, more than anything else. And that's another thing. We still, this is why I know in my heart that we're watching a movie, because we still have seen no evidence on the Jeffrey Epstein bust or the international trafficking or any of that. And to me, that's the biggest reason that any of this is happening. And I always heard that Trump wasn't going to be president after 2021. He's going to be president, but of a new, not of
Right.
the corporation. But
Yeah.
this is new. But honestly, whoever's uh, Obama and his handler, Valerie Jarrett, rewrote all of our history books from K to 12, but also got rid of any college professors and college books that taught anything about any of this.
Yeah.
So,
do you agree with Ellen Wood that Epstein's still alive?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I can't say for sure. Nobody can, but from
No.
what I've seen, I absolutely do. And he listen, the people think that because of the Hollywood whitewash, people watch that Netflix show and they thought it was so bad, that's not even close to what Epstein did. Epstein is connected to all of this in so many ways because he was an expert money launderer. So he had a lot of these people paid Epstein to hide his money. I hide their money overseas.
Yeah.
So he's very involved in the Paradise Papers, which were never reported, the Panama Papers, which were never reported, which is all this money that is being hidden by these billionaires that is being stolen from the taxpayers. On top of that, he was very involved in the research that we're going to see. He has connections to the Wuhan lab and to transhumanism and to mass depopulation. He's also considered by them to be a disciple of Satan, which is the biggest part, that these people idolized him. He got everywhere with nothing, just like Bill Gates, also born into it, Bill Gates. But Bill Gates didn't even finish 1 year at Harvard, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't even finish 1 year of college either.
Yeah.
And
why was Epstein chosen then? Because he wasn't that bright.
No, I think honestly, that he has a devil quality. I think he's a total psychopath. I think that nothing got past him, that he used and abused people along the way, the least of which, honestly, were, the people we're hearing about, because he was running a giant child trafficking ring.
Yeah.
And he, not just the guy, the new Hunter laptop stuff that hasn't come out has a lot of evidence of child trafficking and child abuse beyond beyond most people's comprehension. But they part of their religion, they're in a cult, first of all, and once you're in a cult, you can't get out. So though he was a giant blackmailer, these people they torture and abuse children and then do horrible things. This has been going back to Baal and Baphomet. I mean, this is not new.
No.
They're the same thing, but we're talking about on such a global scale, plus the adrenochrome trade that came from this, which is the drinking of blood, basically, but then it's so much worse when you hear about adrenochrome. Jeffrey Epstein's the keystone to all of this because he was running so much money behind the scenes and had so much blackmail. But now it's coming out that other people's islands were totally, that Peter Nygaard that got arrested is involved in this, and his whole island was camered up. Then we're finding out that every embassy in our country had something to do with the trafficking in terms of in other countries from our country, especially the Ukraine. They say that the Ukraine embassy, where all those people were involved in the first impeachment of Trump, is a giant human trafficking hub of children. And, so we haven't even, that's why I know and still have faith in God and Trump and the White Hats and the entire team, because I know that they've been dismantling this. And yes, I believe, I have said for a while that not only do I believe he's alive, but I believe that they have staggering, crazy evidence against all these people. And the best.
How much of what Epstein is doing has done has actually come out in the USA media?
None. The only thing that's come out here is that he took teenage girls to his island, and but none of the other stuff. None of it. None of it. It's been a total blackout of all human child trafficking.
But if and when it does come out, it's going to be a real bombshell because it's going to involve top people, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. The people at the top are people are going to be so. I mean, it's come out in dribs and drabs, but it's it turns out that in order to make it to the top, it appears, of corporate America or Hollywood or even sports, that you kind of had to do these satanic ritual abuse stuff to
Right.
get to the top level. I mean, I was in Hollywood for 15 years, and I know some of those people, and it was always a wonder, like, how did she get there, you know? And now you look at the Epstein flight logs and you say, oh, of course. And it's
Yeah.
going to be across the bow. There's been a lot of people arrested that we don't know about yet. I don't delve into the cloning and that. I mean, I'm sure there's doubles of people. There's been forever doubles of people. I'm sure there's doubles of Trump. It only makes sense. But the Epstein bombshell boomerang that is going to come is going to be devastating, especially to people that idolize Hollywood and professional sports here, because a lot of them are involved. I mean, this really does go as high as it gets. And the sad part is that they have them. It's not sad. It's good, but it's sad that I know that they have big giant celebrities on film, like bloodletting and doing the whole satanic torture of children. They do. And, you know, it's
one of the good things about your show and being on a regular basis now is that you're getting out the information that most people don't realize at all, do they? Because the mainstream media is not covering any of the political stuff, any of the Epstein stuff. None of this stuff is being covered. And so they have to go to social media to get the truth about what's really happening. And shows like yours are very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is we better be right, or I gotta go. I'm gonna come live in your backyard. Somewhere they can't find me. But no, I swear that you know, I feel like driven by God. I just started the channel and stuff with how, you know, we're really close, and he really helped encourage me and pushed me. And it's been so amazing how many people are grateful. But at this point, it's really about good versus evil and God and the devil, and it's real. And people need to know that. I mean, what we're seeing on Capitol Hill right now is the surface of what is just so demonic. And then if you start uncovering the layers of everything that happened since JFK was murdered to now, it appears that our entire government this whole time has been a criminal organization on the highest level. And you know, I feel bad because there's a lot of whistleblowers now that are being freed, basically, because during Obama's years, if you were a whistleblower, they set you up and they put you in prison, you know. And so I think that's also happening behind the scenes. I hear that this guy who created the scorecard and hammer, who knows about everything, he's been tortured by the former administrations. His name's I believe Dennis Montgomery. Well, I hear that he's finally going to be able to speak freely. We got Bill Binney out there speaking freely. John Here to Help, who's, you know, out there speaking freely. And but a lot of us got purged on Twitter. And that's why I never really went on Facebook other than personally. But I'm like, why not? They're about to they're going to take me down anyway.
But they've shut down Parler at least for the time being, hasn't it?
Can you believe the level of evil of that? These people work their butts off to create a platform for free speech and conservatives, and big tech just went in there and destroyed it. This man said that, you know, what happened to them overnight, and they were #1 on downloads on both the Google Store and Apple Store, and then bam, overnight gone. And, you know, under labeling Parler dangerous, it's just laughable. If you knew how much, I mean, you might know, but how much child porn, trafficking is on Twitter and Facebook, even though they keep saying that they're fighting it, it's unbelievable. But
how do we break their power? Do we break up their monopolies and
I think get it down? I also think that when Trump gets in next time, these channels, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, that they're going to have their FCC, I hope, their licenses revoked. They have contributed in crimes against humanity. And every single day that they push the fear and the hate and the lies, every single day that they do that, they are committing crimes against humanity, because like we discussed last time, the biggest death toll here is going to be suicide. And it's going to be suicide, overdose, and people that didn't get procedures because they were too scared to go to the hospital. And, you know,
but doesn't the mainstream media in the States have to be balanced? Are they required to be balanced?
You would think so, but no, apparently they're not, because don't forget, all these years they wouldn't let Trump put somebody in the FCC. They
Right.
refused to push, they refused to pass it. Basically, what they did was they obstructed. But I have to tell you, the good news is if you followed the back channel that I have from the military the whole time, they've said this whole time that the whole first 4 years of Trump was basically draining the swamp and getting rid of the bad guys and putting in good guys.
Right.
So, I always heard that the Trump plan for presidency was going to end in 2021. Not that he was going to end.
No.
And now it's all making sense. Now the dots are all coming together.
Yeah,
But
but in the UK, the mainstream media is required to be balanced. It doesn't work, obviously, because people like the BBC are totally biased against Trump, totally biased against Brexit and everything.
Right.
But we have a body called Ofcom, who
Right.
are the regulators, but they're just toothless watchdogs. Absolutely
Right.
toothless. They do nothing. And so we have it in theory, but in fact we don't.
Right. Well, the other thing is, what's scary to me about you guys is I think that the people that are against Brexit must not realize that the EU was the first step towards the New World Order.
Yeah.
It was that they are completely controlled by this one world government. And I don't understand anyone in Europe at all that is not Brexiting. I heard yesterday that now they're scared that Italy is going to pull out and Spain is going to pull out. They should. That is run by the Luciferian Satanist one world order. And people are still not seeing what's going on there. I heard the EU is bankrupt though. Without that, they're right now they're running on fumes. And who knows? But this Deutsche Bank, HSBC, USB, all the Rothschild banks here, I hear that they're all in big trouble. And if they run out of money, then that's it.
Yeah, but the only trouble is, as I said before, is that Boris Johnson hasn't negotiated a proper Brexit. He negotiated Brexit in name only.
Right, on purpose.
And day after day, there's more and more examples now coming out where we're beginning to learn where he's sold out to the EU, and the EU still have power over our fishing, our trade, our laws. Everything.
Right. And then
and also I learned the other day that we're going to continue paying into the EU for the next 44 years, would you believe?
Get out of here.
No, it's true.
I didn't know that. Boris Johnson really flipped, huh?
Complete sellout.
What happened? I guess he was the whole time. But
yeah, he was. No, we knew this. People like myself warned that this was coming because he negotiated the deal before the general election. He went to the general election and said, "Vote for me and get Brexit done." That was his motto.
Did you have alternatives?
Well, we again going back to what we said about Farage. We had Farage with the Brexit Party, but all that was controlled opposition, and he pulled out all his candidates against Boris at the last minute, just before the election, so Boris could get his majority. So it's all been planned. But I agree with you that the other countries in the EU should leave, but make sure they leave properly, not like the UK.
Yeah, but that's not going to stand. Boris Johnson's done. I mean, and like you said, you told me about Nigel last week. I looked into it and it doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is that he's blackmailed or corrupt and they know it. Because, he turned a lot on, he even turned on Trump, which is unusual. But like I'm saying, I think we have to, like Lynn Wood said, these politicians that are making these choices that are against we the people, clearly against our freedom, our prosperity, our futures, are compromised, in my opinion. They have blackmail on them. That was the game. The CCP has been collecting it for years. Not just them, but our own governments have been doing this to the people. And, like with us, you guys are going to have to kind of clean house and find good people who are willing to run.
But the trouble is, Boris is using the so-called COVID pandemic to stop all elections. We've had no elections since March of last year. We're supposed to have elections in May this year, elections for local councils in England, national elections in Wales, national elections in Scotland, and it looks like all of them are going to be postponed yet again. They've already been put back a year. So what they're doing, Boris is acting like a dictator, unelected dictator, and he's refusing to let the people go to the polls to vote him out.
It is so crazy. Well, I mean, it's basically it's what's happening here in another way. Here it's a public lynching of the one person that's actually fighting for us. And and there's people in my country, just like in your country, that are cheering him on, that must be so have their head in the sand. I don't understand at this point.
At least you have elections in America, but they get stolen, don't
yeah. No, we don't, apparently. and God forbid you even ask. God forbid you ask, because they're going to take your life away. That's what they want. Everyone that voted against the election, and most of them said that they just wanted a 10-day period where there was a group of bipartisan with that they're trying to destroy their lives too. Josh Hawley lost a book deal. They're saying that they want Cruz and Jim Jordan and all them kicked out of spots that they were elected into. I mean, this is so over the top. But again, I do think that what's going to happen this week is, it's going to affect the world, but there's going to be massive arrests worldwide. These blackouts are not, they're connected to this.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
I agree.
We need it.
So I'm going to see you next week again, right?
Yeah, well, that'd be great. Yeah, love to. Okay. Okay.
Everyone likes
good to see you, Mel. Okay.
Oh, you're the best. Hang in there. Keep me posted. Okay. I'm going to DC this weekend. I'll keep you posted.
Okay. All the best.
See you soon.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. And you.
Bye.